Wait, free parking downtown Slow? Just park in the new structure at Napomo and Palm. And dine at La Esquina, Mama's Meatball or Mistura. And get 2 hours of validated parking. Free parking downtown Slow. Park, eat, validate, done. Learn more at slowfreeparking.com.
You're Up and Adam.
Chapter systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up and Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Happy Hump Day Wednesday. Let's go. Thank you so much for being Up and Adam. My name is Adam Montiel. Hope you're having a great week. Today is going to be a warm one, scorching one, weird one too, like taking dogs potty super early this morning. And it's just that hot. And I hate to use the phrase earthquake weather, but you will. It just like that warm breeze. It's like 7 and it's just like, what is it already? 80 something with this breeze. It's weird. Weird when it's so early in the morning. You're not used to that being so close to the coast. But it is going to be a warm one. Paso, super warm, Slow, everywhere. Very warm. So take all the precautions. Stay plenty hydrated. Don't leave anything in the car, obviously. We have some lo-fi headlines. What's going on? No. First, let me tell you about today's show. Excited. But then I do have a couple because some big stuff. We got to talk Dolly Parton, the rest of it. Michael Bisping. He's one of these guys whose life already sounds like a movie before you ever get to the movie. He helped carry the UFC into the new generation, became the first British fighter to win a UFC championship, and somehow did it after losing the vision in one eye. And I'm not telling anyone about it. And when I asked him what that secret cost him, he told me something that stopped me. The stress of hiding it was so intense compared to everything around it. Actually stepping into the Octagon, that felt like the easy part. Isn't that something? We're also going to bring this one home to Chuck Liddell country, because of course Chuck Liddell came right from SoCal. Bisping made his UFC debut on the same UFC card as Chuck, UFC 66, which was like a legendary card. It's just a cool story. Michael Bisping is an incredible story. And now he's taken that same drive into Hollywood with his first lead role in a film called Atlas King. It's a gritty heist and revenge story opposite Cuba Gooding Jr. And this isn't just some case of a fighter showing up, throwing a few punches, and calling himself an actor. No, Bisping talked about helping really shape the fight scenes so they felt real, forming a production company when others wanted to, kind of water the movie down, and still dealing with imposter syndrome. After a Hall of Fame career, nearly 20 films, and a UFC world title. If anybody should feel like they belong, right? Plus, we'll get into everything from Conor McGregor, Jean-Claude Van Damme, the very important question of who walks out of a pub if Michael Bisping and Atlas King, the character he plays, walk in together. Michael Bisping was a fun conversation. Whether you're into UFC or any of this stuff or not, you're going to enjoy meeting this guy. He's coming up in just a few minutes on Up and Adam. Okay, like I said, we do have a couple lo-fi headlines. The biggest of which, Dolly Parton has died. Wow. I mean, of course, she's a country music icon. She is just a icon. Rock and roll music icon. She's just everything. She's an icon. Songwriter, actor, businesswoman, one of the most beloved figures in American entertainment. Easily, right? She died yesterday in Nashville. 80 years old. Her publicist says she died peacefully. Looks like it was cancer that had crept up, and she mentioned that her health had taken a turn because she had kind of ignored it when everything was going on with her husband, Carl, who died in 2025. And it sounds like what happened to her is exactly the same thing that happened to my dad. Just you have something, you're not quite paying attention to it, and you're 80. And even though you're healthy, Dolly Parton was all over the freaking place. And then that cancer just comes back, and it just, it's the final boss. And it it did what it did to this poor woman. 80 years old, but it went, to some extent very quick. But then, you go, you're 80 and you had a wonderful life. Her resume, my God, insane. She wrote Jolene, Coat of Many Colors, 9 to 5, and I Will Always Love You, which she first recorded years before Whitney Houston turned it into one of the biggest songs ever with Bodyguard. Over 6 decades, Dolly sold more than 100 million records, won multiple Grammys, starred in big movies, built Dollywood, and wrote thousands of songs. But a huge part of her legacy had nothing to do with music. Her imagination library has given free books to millions of kids. She donated $1 million toward COVID vaccine research. Somehow, in a country that can argue about basically anything, Dolly Parton remained one of those rare people everyone loved. She was funny. She was self-aware, unapologetically herself, which I think we all admired and wish we could see more of ourselves in that kind of embodiment. She never seemed to forget where she came from. Dolly once said she'd hoped to ultimately be remembered as a good songwriter. I think it's safe to say she got that one covered. Wow, Dolly Parton. Rest easy, Miss Dolly. All right. This also a sad story that it's local, and it also carries a little bit of loss, a little bit of grief to it. San Luis Obispo about to lose a restaurant that has been here longer than almost all of us. Mi Hung Lo Noodle House, closing after nearly 100 years in business. Yeah, let that sink in. Wow. A little restaurant on Palm Street tucked into Chinatown, the historic district, been serving noodles since 1927. God, do we keep it one more year? Think about that. Cal Poly was still a tiny school. 101 didn't exist yet. And Mi Hung Lo was already making noodles. The restaurant's been run by the same family for generations. The current owner, Russell Chan, carrying on a business that started by his grandfather. But Chan says it's time. The restaurant will close its doors at the end of August, which, if you're keeping track, is in just a couple days. Bringing to an end one of the longest running family businesses in San Luis Obispo. And this one definitely hits different because Mi Hung Lo is more than just an old restaurant. It's one of the last living pieces of Slo's original Chinatown, a community that once filled this part of downtown with Chinese-owned homes, businesses. Most of that, of course, disappeared decades ago. Mi Hung Lo didn't. For almost a century, it just kept serving noodles. So if you've always said, I need to get over there sometime, well, that sometime, it's now. Because after nearly 100 years, the last bowl is coming in just a few days. So, Mi Hung Lo, wow, that's some big news locally. Man. All right, what do you say we get into our chat with Michael Bisping? It's going to be a fun chat. Looking forward to it. Before that, I do love our friends at Mountain Air. These guys have been around 50 years. Think how long 50 years? Yeah, 99 years. Wow, you guys got a few more years to catch up, Mountain Air. But these guys are going to do it because these guys have what Mi Hung Lo has had. And that is heart. Heart for this town. Local heart. This was started by a guy named Wayne Patterson. Now it's owned by Josh and Lindsay Herring. They're just a great couple, great neighbors. And if you need something, go local. If you could support local, it means so much. Don't go to the big box store around the hill. You don't need REI when you got our friends at the Mountain Air. These guys have been here like 47, 48 years longer than REI, right? They got all the maps you need to get outside and go touch grass. They got a different apparel. A couple doors down, they got the Switchback. That's their sister shop, helping you buy and sell used gear, maybe get into a new hobby, whatever you're feeling. TheMountainair.com is their website. On Marsh in San Luis Obispo. Make sure you let them know you heard them on Up and Adam, the Mountain Air, San Luis Obispo.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, Michael Bisping is a UFC Hall of Famer, the first British fighter to win a UFC championship, a commentator, an analyst, and now a leading man in the new action film Atlas King. His story is wild. Even by fighter standards, his story is wild. He lost the vision in one eye, kept competing, kept it a secret, became a world champion, and then built an entire second act in broadcasting and now film. In Atlas King, he plays a former street fighter pulled back into a violent underworld. And as he tells us, this was a movie he fought to make the way he wanted to. Gritty, real, and with some real heart underneath all the hits. Michael Bisping, welcome to Up and Adam, man.
My pleasure, Adam. Thank you very much.
Now, I kind of want to start off, I want to kind of bring it home for a second. We're broadcasting from California Central Coast, Chuck Liddell country, right? Chuck became one of those guys who didn't just help build the UFC. He, like you, was helping teach America what the UFC was. And you two did actually share a card. It was an amazing card, one of the best ones ever, UFC 66. I don't think you ever fought each other, though. When you think about Chuck Liddell and that generation of fighters who helped drag MMA from the fringe into the mainstream, what do you think guys like you inherited from them? And what did your generation have to change?
Yeah. Well, as you say, my UFC debut, UFC 66, 2006, MGM, Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell 2. And it was a massive card. And those guys at the time, they were the big superstars of the sport. And you're right, guys like Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, they were the big names that really helped drag the sport from this sport that wasn't known or taken seriously to the next level. So I've got so much respect for guys like that. They were kind of like, the trailblazers, the first rock stars of the sport back in the day. And yeah, just being on a card with Chuck Liddell, I was like, wow, this is crazy. And yeah, over the years, we got to hang out a little bit. Chuck Liddell, awesome guy, and I've got so much respect for the man.
And fighter to fighter, when you watched Chuck in his prime, was there ever a little part of you, Michael, that thought, man, I'd like to find out what would happen if they locked us both in a cage?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, 100%. I mean, obviously, he was the champ at the time, and all fighters want to become the champ. And I remember at one of the press conferences, I'd fought on the card, and Chuck Liddell fought on the card. And Dana was saying, yeah, I don't think too many people want to fight Chuck Liddell right now. And I was sitting there thinking, well, there's someone right here that wants to, but obviously, I'm not talking any trash. Chuck is an absolute legend. And of course, that would have been a tough fight, 100%. One of the OGs of the sport, and yeah, man, I loved watching him. I was lucky enough to share a couple of drinks with him over the years, and he bestow some wisdom on me and give me some advice and stuff like that. So yeah, great times.
That's rad, man. Well, Michael, there's something almost impossible about your story. You lose vision in one eye, and then 3 years later you become world champion. First Brit to do it in the UFC. Most people would look at that diagnosis as the ending. Somehow, you turned it into part of the middle. I mean, did losing your sight make you more afraid as a fighter, or did it actually make fear less powerful because you'd already discovered how much could be taken from you?
Yeah, it just made my drive even stronger because, I mean, obviously I dedicated my whole life to martial arts, and I just moved out to Orange County, California. And I thought in my mind, I'm going to be a champ and this and that. And I bought this big house that I couldn't afford. I got talked into buying it by friends and my wife and stuff. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. They're like, you got to be the champ. And then I lose an eye. I fight Vitor Belfort, my retina detaches. They reattach it, but then it redetaches again. And then I got glaucoma. And then one thing after the other, I lose the vision in the eye. But fighting was all I knew. And I was determined to get back into the ring one way or the other, whether that was lying on tests and cheating and whatever it was that I had to do, I did it. But also because of that, it also made me realize that my time in the sport was limited, because at some point, the story's going to come out. Someone's going to catch me eventually. So I started doing as much as I could outside of the Octagon, because, you've really got to maximize the exposure that you have at the time. Because when you retire from fighting, no one's interested. You're just that former guy. So I started working on Fox Sports. I was doing the pre-show, the post-show, started commentating. And I also started doing a bit of acting work as well. I got offered an acting role in 2009. I'd never acted, but I put my heart and soul into it, really enjoyed it. The director was super happy with it. And then when I moved out to Orange County, found myself an agent, slowly but surely started getting like, little roles here and there. And then the roles would start getting a bit bigger. And as we sit here now, I don't know, I've done like 20 films or something like that. And
awesome.
I've got my first lead role coming out soon. So it's kind of crazy because I still don't consider myself an actor. I'm a fighter or a former fighter that does a bit of acting on the side, but it is something that I am passionate about.
It's like athletes kind of trained to hide weakness, but yours wasn't like a sore knee or a bad shoulder, like you were just saying. I mean, you were protecting something that, if fully understood, might have ended your career. What did keeping the truth about your eye from the sport cost you emotionally? And not so much Michael Bisping, the fighter, but Michael Bisping, the man.
The stress was unbelievable because at any time it could be discovered. And every time you fly to whatever city the fight's in, their doctor's got to look at you as well. So you could do an entire training camp and then show up and then at the weigh-ins be pulled from the fight. So just the mental turmoil and the stress of it all and hiding it and having to cheat and lie along the way. Wearing glasses inside, and looking like a douchebag, but, sunglasses, because, I'm trying to hide what the eye actually looks like. So everyone thinks I think I'm some kind of rock star or whatever, but I'm wearing them to hide the eye. The stress was incredible, and getting into the Octagon, that was the easy part. Yeah, it wasn't easy, but compared to that was the easy part. So, I did it. I pulled it off. I managed to become the champ with one eye. I had some defenses, some big fights, and here we are.
What was there ever a moment where you're like, am I being courageous here, or am I asking too much of myself? Did you ever question it?
Do you know what? It's crazy because I look back and I don't sit around watching my old fights, but I have stumbled across a couple of them just randomly on TV. And my youngest son, he hasn't really watched my fights. He's not interested. But I remember one night there was a fight on. I was fighting Kung Lee and I called him. I said, son, come sit down. This is your dad. This is your old man in one of my fights. And I remember, and I was blind in one eye at the time. And I win the fight and I get on the microphone and I'm declaring, I'm going to be the champion one day. Whoever it is, I'm coming for that belt. And I sit there now as this version of myself and I think, where the hell did this confidence come from? I knew I had one eye, but I was so driven and so single-minded about doing that. It still surprises me to this day. And it's only when I kind of see that from another perspective as a retired fighter that it's mind-blowing, and I can't believe that young, brash, foolish guy was so deluded. But I guess I wasn't deluded because I pulled it off.
You did. When that belt, though, was finally around your waist, who did you feel like you had proven wrong? Everybody else or some stubborn voice inside of you? And once you proved it, did the voice finally stop?
No, it didn't. No, but it was the entire world. Obviously, I was always brash throughout my career. And, I was never backwards in coming forwards. I engaged in a lot of trash talk and things like that because that was my kind of personality. And I enjoyed it. I was having fun with it. We're going to fight. So we're going to talk a little crap along the way. But when I won the belt, I jumped on top of the Octagon and I screamed, F you, But that wasn't at my opponent. That was to the world. That was to all the haters. That was to everyone online that said I wasn't good enough, to the teachers in school that were like, you're never going to become anything. And then everyone in the MMA community saying, this guy's nothing. He's been given hand-picked opponents and this and that. Well, I took the fight on 2 weeks' notice. I walked off a movie set, Triple X with Vin Diesel. I hadn't trained. I stepped in there with a world champion and knocked him out in the first round. So I'm like, kiss my ass.
I love it, Michael. You fought some terrifying human beings, but fighters always talk about the opponent across from them. I wonder sometimes about the opponent that nobody sees. Of everything you battled during your career, injury, doubt, ego, fear, age, haters, like you said, which one came closest to beating you?
Yeah, I mean, the injuries, certainly, they're up there, and I still live with them today. I mean, I live in pain every single day, but honestly, I've got zero regrets. I lived a great life, and I still live a great life, but I've had 7 neck surgeries, and my neck is constant pain, and the headaches build throughout the day. I've got 2 total knee replacements. I've got 1 eye, my back kills. I mean, the list goes on, right? But as I say, zero, and I mean zero regrets. I love the life I've lived and continue to live. But probably myself, I mean, just like with this acting stuff, I have a bit of imposter syndrome. I think along the way as well, along the way in the UFC, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I don't know. I'm making this up as I go along. I come from England. The sport wasn't very big there. There wasn't very many coaches, and I was always game for a fight. I was always a natural fighter. I did do a lot of martial arts growing up, but like not to this kind of level. So yeah, I mean, we're always our own self-critic. We always have that inner doubt. So yeah, that never went away, and I guess it still hasn't.
Yeah, no, and I talk to so many people like you who are just so accomplished, champion, best at their game and their craft, and this imposter syndrome, it finds everyone, no matter where you are in your journey, no matter how famous you are, it finds everyone. I'm curious, when you retired, was losing the competition harder, or almost like that identity? The identity, was that harder to lose?
Do you know what? To be honest, I'm quite lucky because I still commentate the UFC regularly. I mean, that's my main gig, so I'm really busy with that, and I'm traveling constantly. So I'm still involved with the sport. So I still kind of have that identity, and I'm very lucky. I walk into an arena and the fans still remember me. And it's funny because now, like, sometimes people, the younger generations are like, oh, you're the UFC commentator. And I'm like, also a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
I did fight.
Yeah.
But some of the kids don't realize these days because it's been 10 years. But so yeah, I'm very lucky that I'm still involved with the sport. I still get the adrenaline. I still get to be Octagon side. I love walking into the Octagon and just feeling the canvas under my feet and speaking to these fighters. I love when I get a chance, like a lot of the UK guys, they'll reach out and ask for advice, and they call me Uncle Mike and stuff like that. So I'm really happy, and I really enjoy just kicking down a bit of wisdom and like some of my experiences and how to navigate these waters and how to deal with a loss. You know what I mean? Like Oban Elliott, he's a Welsh fighter. He lost recently, and we had some long talks and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I've got a lot of experience, and I've got a lot of experience losing because I didn't win all my fights either, So, yeah, the identity side, I guess I'm lucky that never really went away, but I'm not the fighter anymore, and that has changed, and I am a different person. When I was competing as a fighter, I was so different. I truly believed I could beat anyone in a fight. And now I look back at that version and I think, who the hell was that guy? That guy was a little bit crazy. But now, I'm an old guy. I got a wife. I got my 3 kids, and they're not even kids anymore. They're 25, 23, and 16. So life is very different.
Well, you were very entertaining to watch. And I think of some of the ones now. I'm curious who you find entertaining to watch in the UFC. I think of another UK born and bred Paddy Pimblett. Have you ever connected with him? Who are some of the other ones that are really fun for you to watch?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Paddy Pimblett's doing incredible things, and he's got a massive personality. Yeah, and Paddy's awesome. Yeah, he's a very funny guy. Tom Aspinall, another British guy. He's the heavyweight champ. Awesome, very humble, down-to-earth guy. But there's always new stars coming through, and I don't know where they continue to find these people. Like, I'm coaching the new season of The Ultimate Fighter right now, myself and Daniel Cormier, and the talent that they have on there, these kids, it's unbelievable. Like, I'm supposed to be their coach. I'm like, I can't show these guys anything. They've been studying mixed martial arts since they were 3 years old, and at the pinnacle of the sport, because there's new techniques being developed and the sport evolves all the time. And a lot of these kids, like, they're so technical in every area, but I can help them with, the training schedule and the discipline and what it takes to get in shape and things like that. But yeah, I mean, they just continue to find these new talent all over the world. So it's crazy. The sport still is only getting bigger and bigger.
In Atlas King, you play a man who comes home and finds that the world he knew has been taken over. His old empire disappearing, somebody else has the power, and now he has to decide what's still worth fighting for. Did Atlas become interesting to you because he can fight, or because underneath all that muscle, he's confronting the much harder question of what's left when the world you built no longer belongs to you?
Yeah. So the character Atlas King, he was a former street fighter that kind of gets involved in, shall we say, the mob in Los Angeles, and he's in the criminal underworld. Anyway, he ends up getting shot, and he goes back to England, to get away from it all. 15 years later, his mentor and best friend has died, so he goes back to LA for the funeral, and he finds out that his son, his best friend's son, is involved with all the same people that my character was involved with. And I can't go home back to England and allow my best friend's son and his whole family to fall to the same fate that I was going to fall into. So I come back into town, and Cuba Gooding Jr., he plays the main bad guy, and he was just absolutely phenomenal. And it's not really an MMA film. It's a heist movie. It's a revenge story. It's got a tremendous cast. It's got a great script. Originally the movie was, we had a couple of sales companies that wanted to sell it for us, but they wanted to change the casting. They wanted a different person in the lead role. They wanted to tweak the script. And eventually it became not the film that we were trying to make. So we formed our own production company. We sourced our own outside finance, which was very difficult to do in this economy, but we were able to do it. And we made the film that we wanted to make. So we're very proud of that, because, we didn't want to be dictated to, and the film get watered down and kind of made a little weaker and, less offensive or whatever. We wanted it to be real, to be gritty. And as I said, the film that we wanted to make. So yeah, we're really proud of it. It's got a great cast. August 21st, it gets released on demand everywhere. So yeah, if you find yourself bored and you're sitting in front of the TV from August 21st, Atlas King, and I'll say it, you won't be disappointed. It's a good film. It's not a corny, cheesy MMA film. It's got some real heart, and it's a really good story.
Hollywood has spent a century teaching people what tough looks like, right? But you lived in a world where you actually, found out. And then, actors, because I did martial arts for a long time too. And when you talk about like the martial arts, especially when you're trying to convert them for TV fighting scenes, actors train months to convince us that they can fight. But you have the opposite problem. You have to convince us you're fighting without actually fighting. Is it harder for you to make movie violence look real because you know what exactly real violence looks like? Yeah. Sadly I do. And it's funny because, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm like this world famous or vastly experienced actor, but I've done about 18, 19 films now at this point. So a fair bit of experience. And there's always a lot of action given my background. And the fight choreographers, every single time, they always say, okay, Michael, so we're not trying to hit the person here. And I'm like, bro, I know. I'm not a fool, so there's always that. But then, of course, with this, because hopefully a lot of the MMA community will tune in and watch this because of my background, I wanted it to look real. So I was able to tweak the fight scenes. I was able to give my own input. I want it to be realistic. I didn't want it to be, overly fancy. I wanted it to be gritty. I wanted it to be impactful and violent. I wanted the scenes to look nasty, so, and we pulled it off. They look really good. The movie opens with like a flashback scene from my younger days when I was in LA in all that trouble. Yeah. And it's a pretty good way to start the film. Let's do some rapid fire before we get out of here. Best movie fighter you ever watched?
Best movie fighter I ever watched. I got to say Jean-Claude Van Damme. That was my hero back in the day. That was the guy that inspired me to start martial arts. And come on, Bloodsport, kickboxer, the list goes on.
An actor you'd love to fight on screen?
Oh, man. I'd love to fight on screen. I got to come up with someone real quick.
Maybe Jean-Claude Van Damme in his prime. That'd be pretty badass.
Yeah. You know, there was talk of him being in this film originally, but he wasn't. But yeah, I mean, Van Damme, that would still, I mean, I know Van Damme isn't like the star that he used to be, but he's still working. But for me, he'll always be a legend. So yeah, we'll go with Van Damme.
Yeah, even like Steven Seagal had his time like on top of being badass. But when you look at Van Damme, especially if you're a real martial artist, you have love and respect for Jean-Claude Van Damme, no doubt. Trash talker you secretly respected most?
I mean, you can't not enjoy Conor McGregor in his prime. Conor McGregor in his prime was awesome. Chael Sonnen was hilarious. I mean, some of the videos that he did talking about Anderson Silva and the Nogueira brothers and stuff like that, and like how hard his life was growing up in Westland, Oregon. He's talking about like, you know, yeah, we had a maid, but sometimes they only came twice a week. You know, our house was chaos. And there was years that my father never earned $150,000. And he's just like making fun of like the fighters, like making out their life was so hard. So Chael was always genius.
Finally, if Atlas King and Michael Bisping walk into a pub and only one walks out, who am I putting my money on?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say me in a fight, but Atlas King carries a gun.
Touche.
You know what I'm saying? So that might be an issue, but you know, I'm 47 years old. I'm retired, but there's still life in the old dog yet.
Who plays Michael Bisping? I was just going to say, who plays Michael Bisping in the Michael Bisping movie?
I have no idea. I've never thought about that. And yeah, you know, my feet are firmly on the ground. I don't think like that.
I love it, man. Well, you've been such a joy to talk to. I can't thank you enough. Hall of Famer. This is just such an incredible time. You ever make your way out to San Luis Obispo? Have you ever been out here?
You know what? I've never been there, but I hear that it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right in the middle of San Francisco and LA, but you got beaches, vineyards. Yeah, it's wonderful. So you ever come out here, we'll make sure you're comfortable and well taken care of.
My man, thank you very much. Great talking to you, and you have a great day.
Yeah, you too. By the way, I love beans on toast. I love sausage rolls, and there's pieces of the UK cuisine that I absolutely love. I make sausage rolls twice a year. I love them.
Sausage rolls, they're one of my wife's favorites. I do love a good sausage roll.
Hell yeah, man. Talk to you soon. Thank you, brother.
All right, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Love it, Michael. Such a pleasure. Thank you for the time, the stories, and being so open about everything. I love what he said about Chuck Liddell. Good stuff. But now he's starring opposite Cuba Gooding Jr. We got the trailer, where to watch it, all the stuff, all the info, all the links. Yes, at your fingertips in the show notes. Check it out. All right. Let's head to happy hour tonight, baby. Monday through Friday, every day, 4:30 to 6:30. It is happy hour at our friends at Benny's Pizza. And you know what they're about, that beautiful Detroit style, thick, crispy pan-fried crust. Sauce on top, on bottom, it doesn't matter because it's so dang good. I got a frozen one ready to go right in the freezer downstairs. Also, there's their lasagna. Don't sleep on the lasagna. So yummy. Also a great gift idea. You know, someone just had a baby, or maybe you're doing a meal train for a family. That lasagna is great. It's sit in the freezer, stick in the oven 2 hours, and boom, it is a gourmet meal that will feed a clan, a tribe for days. So check it out. Happy hour tonight, $3.50 domestic cans, $2 off premium beer and wine, plus food specials that hit the spot. Upper Monterey, check them out. 1601 Monterey Street, 439-3838. Benny's Pizza, baby. It is not just where you eat, it is where you land. All right, before we go, we're working on something special in the wake of the passing of Dolly Parton. Again, she passed away yesterday at 80. Hoping to speak with author Martha Ackman, putting that together right now. She has got a book called Ain't Nobody's Fool, The Life and Times of Dolly Parton. And it is like the quintessential biography, from what I understand, about Dolly. So we would be able to ask all the questions of her and how she became one of those rare people who felt like she belonged to everyone. And I would love to talk to Martha Ackman. And that's what we're working on putting together. She has the quintessential bio on Dolly, and I am just this close to sealing that deal. And Maybe she'd be on tomorrow's show. I would love that. All right. Thanks to Moonshiner Collective for original music on this show called Start Again. Stream them wherever you get your music, moonshinercollective.com, AdamMontiel.com. Click the Connect tab. You can see shows like The Pour. We're about to throw down a new episode of that. Where Wine Takes You, new episode. There's been some fantastic episodes of Where Wine Takes You. It's my podcast with Paso Wine. Love Paso Wine. Joel, Krista. The whole team over there is incredible. But I want you to check out some of these most recent episodes, like Andrew Nelson and Alex Wolf from La Petite Canaille. Super cool. I just did one with Janelle and Tavo, who won big awards this year. Talked to Mike Seiner and Ancient Peaks co-owner Doug Filipponi. That was a great conversation, talking about that the nested AVA Santa Margarita. There's only one vineyard in it. It's theirs. And what about it? Like, what, there's over 1,000 acres planted and used to be Mondavia, the whole story. Ancient Peaks and that Santa Margarita Ranch, that property. It's so rich. So much stuff going on. So yeah, PasoWine.com or anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can check out that new episode of Where Wine Takes You. Of course, this show, as well as shows like Where Wine Takes You and The Pour, they are recorded at my SlowCal studios in the heart of San Luis Obispo County. SlowCal, where the wine is world class, the people are real, and life is too beautiful to rush. For turns well taken, visit slowcal.com. That's SLOCAL, slowcal.com. All right, till tomorrow. Have a great day. Please stay hydrated, stay safe, stay cool. I'm Adam Montiel. Thank you again for being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.